This is Crimson 60620. Thank you for watching my video. Also, you can catch me on these social media platforms. And if you want to see some great art, hit my DeviantArt page up. And finally, support my Patreon. Thanks. What's up, guys? This is me, Crimson 60620, and I'm sitting back watching this video. Shadows on my face, and I got into a heated discussion about fools like this, and why would I call him a fool? Well, you use the language of woke politics. And this is just woke value signaling. This is African American racism. And what do I mean by that? Can African Americans be bigots like this? Yes. It's one of those things where you're so closed off. And you selling the same shit that these other races, you selling these same shit that these other supremacists are fucking selling. And it's okay because you're black. Now, we're going to get into this video. But I hate fools like this. Because, yes, racism is a thing. And it has been used to keep African Americans down. And it was not even a but to that, but I guess it is. But it's more than just that. It's a divide and conquer strategy. It is a strategy that is there for people to actually make more money by keeping the workers divided against the owners. But let's hear some of this bullshit that he espouses. Let's start.
Could be further from the truth. Slavery didn't destroy the black family. Do you know that we were still getting married through slavery? Jumping the broom in secret, even under punishment of death. We were married during Reconstruction. We were married during civil rights. When do you begin to see the rise of the single-parented black female household? 1970.
So this is just one of those things where it's just like, everybody started to get divorced around 1970s. They relaxed the laws around divorce. There was a cultural change. There was a cultural realignment where divorce wasn't seemed as shameful. And quite honestly, if you think that all of those marriages and weddings were fucking awesome and happy because of reasons, then you have a problem. You don't see that some people get out of marriages because they are destructive. They're either physically or emotionally abusive. I mean, like, I'm not trying to make light of the situation, but we know that there are some things that were happening around that time that people were getting people were quiet about. Spousal abuse was a thing. Marital rape was a thing. And you know what people got married for? Because they needed cover to stay in the closet. But it's a problem now that people have the choice whether to be married or not. And besides, what you're saying is all fucked up and all fucked up wrong. the reason why it was such a destruction in the 1970s is because Nixon was trying to go after the Democratic, which had just flipped base, the realignment, the party realignment, where they were trying to go after the Southern white racists in order to keep their power. Which makes more sense? There is some maniacal plot to destroy African Americans, or, hear me out, a corrupt president is looking to keep power any kind of way they did. And they devised a Southern strategy, which they have documented evidence of. But I'm sure you're going to enlighten us of why it happened in the 1970s, not to mention the fact that money was in politics. So let's continue.
After they killed Dr. King, the United States government said we must neutralize the black power base. And they determined that the black power base was the black family. It was independent black skilled men and women who financed King, financed Mr. Garvey, financed Mr. Muhammad, financed SNCC and CORE, the Freedom Riders and the sit-in movement.
So you hear what you're saying. You hear what you're talking about. So they just said we have to destroy the black base just for the hell of it. I don't hear about economic justice. I just hear about, well, they just didn't like black folks. African Americans weren't the only ones that were targeted by racist policy. What about our Latino brothers and sisters, our Hispanic brothers and sisters? They fucking made marijuana illegal for racist ideologues and because it interfered with their profits. But you so pro-black, you can't see this. That it was about money and it was about power. And people who stood in their way of keeping their money and their power. Because it wasn't just black people that went to jail for the shit. Now, the thing that most of these people don't speak about. Martin Luther King wasn't killed on some civil rights march. He was killed. He was assassinated. Going to rally behind workers who were on strike because he believed not just in racial justice, but economic justice. But let's continue.
So they said, if we want to crush the black struggle, we got to crush the black family. So guess what they did in 1970? King dies in 68. In 1970, they came into the black communities and de-industrialized our city centers. In 1970, they started shutting down the factories. Remember, up until the 50s and 60s, you didn't need a college degree to get a decent job.
So, and this is a point that I've made in multiple streams. Yes, the factories were destroyed in the inner cities. But they just didn't dismantle them. They moved them to the south where it was less regulations and people could make more profit. That's what the shit was about. Making more profit, and then they moved them out of the country. Now I'm going to let him go in and finish his point about skilled workers. Let's continue.
Many of us got grandparents who worked in factories their whole life and lived better lives than we're living now with 2 and 3 degrees.
So, here's the thing. Let's address this. What was the economy during the 50s and the 60s? Factory work, yes. Skilled work, skilled labor. But again, what was the shift? It was a technocratic shift. It was a shift to say, hey, we need to actually shift towards more financial or more non-physical labor. Now, here's the thing. No one, if you can get rid of those back-breaking, body-breaking labor jobs, that's what technology does. Are you going to be mad at the slaves that had the cotton gin? which also helped foster the Civil War because you didn't need as much slaves to pick cotton. Now I understand that I'm looking at this through a lot of an economic view. That is true. But a lot of this shit does have economic repercussions, and racism is a tool in those economic oppressions. Let's let them speak a little bit more.
They could work in their same neighborhood, and everybody worked for the factory. Good retirement, pension, benefits, medical. They started shutting down the factories in 1970, and then they went into the high schools. And
so here's the thing, and this again goes into the point of economic justice. It wasn't just African Americans that were hit by this. It wasn't. We were just more vulnerable to it because of redlining and because of things where we didn't have the same amount of generational wealth. But there was a reason why we had so much inflation. The inflation that hit everybody. We just got taken out more because we had the least amount of economic security. It wasn't just a black targeted thing. And yes, the racism that actually accompanied the Southern strategy, yes, that would have had more outsized pressure against us. But you're not talking about economic justice. You're talking about, oh, woe is us. I don't know why they want it. They hate it because they hate us because they hate us.
did what? Started deindustrializing the inner city high schools. Up until 1970, you could graduate from almost any school in New York certified as a plumber, certified as an electrician, certified as a carpenter, auto body, brick mason, a welder. They took all those programs out. These are the skills that pays the bills, gentlemen. As long as you have a skill, you can always feed your family. But if all you got is college degrees, you might end up in the unemployment line. Why? Because the skills that we learn in college are not necessarily marketable to other black people.
So, I hate technocrats. I fucking hate them. I fucking hate when they say you have to get a college degree in order to make a society, in order to succeed in society. And not that you have to have a college degree, but you have to take out so much loans and make somebody else's rich in order to make sure that you get this piece of paper that says you're worth something as a human being. I fucking hate it. If you want to make that point that people were so convinced to actually, it was a problem. It was a solutions in search of a problem, that so many people actually were pushed and taught that you have to have a college degree. You want to move away from these fields, which are in themselves are taking less labor. Let's not forget it. The skills of plumbing and electricity are taking less labor to accomplish. They are. But you want to take it again as this hit versus saying that we all economically need to stand together. This is why I have issues with people like this, because they're so wrapped up in my experience, and instead of preaching for economic justice, instead of preaching for, a more socialist society, oh well, because we black.
I'm a psychologist. Ain't too many black people running around looking for a psychologist to reveal all the skeletons in their closet.
And that's your fault. This is exactly what. Why not? Why not? Why not? Why aren't there more African Americans admitting to the fact that they need psychologists, counseling? They need to deal with some of the shit that we put ourselves through in order to live up to a standard that, yes, you have people that's going to hate you. Yes, you have people that's going to just dislike you or fear you because of the color of your skin and the animosity that has been built up to actually make you out to be the victim. Why aren't you helping? This like, really, why? Why is that such a fucking problem? Why isn't there more? Why aren't you, as a psychologist, promoting more African American mental health? Let's continue.
You
So,
rather talk to a white
exactly. So they started sending us to college instead of teaching us how to work with our hands. That was the 70s. That was the economic castration of the black male. Now let's go to 1980. The CIA comes in, cocaine import agency. They drop off crack. So now the unemployed black man, who has always been the breadwinner, Envy, even in slavery, we were always the breadwinner up until 1970. Now the crack comes. You got a decision. I can sell this crack and try to put some food on the table, or I can smoke it to deal with the fact that I'm no longer economically relevant to the black woman.
deal with that.
So, did the CIA do some fucked up shit? Yes. Did the CIA fuck over people and actively bring in drugs to the U.S. to sell to all minorities? Yes. Did they, on a whim, topple third world nations because they wanted to flex their power, wealth, and authority? Yes. Dude, like, the CIA did more to fucking hurt the indigenous people of the global south. But you're not preaching of that. Let's continue.
And let's be clear, the decade of the 70s was the decade of making the black man economically irrelevant to the black woman. We're the only man in America who is out-earned and out-educated by our mates. No other woman in America out-earns and out-educates their mates. And this is not the black woman's problem. I want to be clear. This was systematically done to make us irrelevant to our families. Then the 1990s.
So, again, you get this whole sense of they hate us because they hate us. And if you want to ask me, if you want to point to me and talk about how everybody's wages start flatlining when worker productivity start to go up, you're not bringing those numbers up. You're not bringing up the fact that we need economic revolutions. And yes, during the 80s, it was, who actually did make sure that they got more? The business leaders, the people that invested. There's a reason why Wall Street came out in the 80s. It's because we actually see the rise of global capitalism, where it wasn't no longer national capitalism, it was global capitalism. But you're not paying attention to that shit. You're paying attention to the fact that, they just wanted to emasculate the black man. Where, again, it wasn't just black people that actually lost during those decades. It was, you saw the closing of a lot of things. A lot of things got hit. But it's all about the black man. And I'm not saying, and I'm fucking black. I am African American. I have dealt with in my life prejudice and racism. But you know what a lot of that comes from? It comes from people that's on the same economic ladder that I'm on. But they needed to feel better about themselves instead of looking at the people that's selling us to fight each other. Let's go into the 90s. Let's go into the 90s.
90s come, Bill Clinton crime bill. 3 strikes and you out. Mandatory minimum wages, the Bill Clinton crime bill. Now all those unemployed black men who got caught smoking crack or selling crack now being sent off to jail. And then they also give us the ADHD so that we could dope the kids up with the same medicine that sent the father to jail. Then the year 2000 comes.
Okay, so this whole conspiracy about ADHD on the rise, um, autism on the rise. The whole conspiracy theory about, they just want to drug our kids. There were diagnostic changes of what people actually describe as ADHD, autism. This is like anti-vaxxer shit about how what we determined where, years ago where it was like, oh, this kid is a little slow, or oh, this kid is hyperactive, or this is a bad kid. And it was a new medical way of looking at their interactions. And you know this. You're a psychologist. You know this is happening. You know it happened. What is that? The DHS5, the medical diagnostics of different psychological diseases. You know this, but you're using you. Let's let him finish. And by the way, if you do really want to talk about, yes, they had the three strikes laws, and yes, this is why I hate fucking Joe Biden, because he advocated the pushing of being harsher on crack cocaine than just powder cocaine. This is why I hate Joe Biden. But you know why Joe Biden did it? He was getting funded in money from his campaign donations for privatizing prisons. And that's the thing. You see these people, it's like, it's the money, Lebowski. It's the fucking money. But let's continue.
George Bush hits us with the what? Faith-based initiative. He finds a loophole in federal law that allows you to finance churches. So now the mega churches and the medium-sized churches in the black community, Charlemagne, are being financed by the government.
I pulled my earphone out. That's like, really? Oh, now the churches have an incentive to go along with the government. Let's continue.
You think it's a coincidence, Envy, that you don't see no major churches involved in the miseducation movement? No major churches involved in the mass incarceration movement?
Black
No
Lives
major
Matter.
churches involved in police genocide?
Yeah.
No major churches involved in poverty? Where is the black church in 2017 when it comes to black people issues? They're missing in action because they're being paid by the government to stay out of the struggle. And that's why it's called faith-based initiative. Your pastor is the new FBI agent.
Wow.
I know. If you want to make a critique of me saying that I look like I'm crazy just talking about this, I don't throw around some Bonafides talking about how I'm this and that person, and I'm not using an appeal to authority off of just what I say. It's these people like this, these black revolutionaries. These are the same people that are making money off of selling you this dream that everybody is out to get you because you just black. Versus, I didn't hear him talk about the NAACP, but that's probably a problem for him because it would disprove his idea. I didn't hear this man talk. Like, it's all about hate. Haplin's razor is that never attribute to malice what can easily be attributed to stupidity. And something I like to add is greed or cowardice. How many times do you see people that are making fucked up ass decisions just because it is a way for them to get money, get power, get notoriety? Now we can argue on the facts are there. In the 70s and 80s, we saw a decline of the compensation as far as productivity for all people. We saw that. We saw that there was a gap in the amount of real wage growth versus actual real wage growth versus just regular wage growth. It has been a 40 fucking year flat line on how people have been paid. But we let people like this that sell you a dream, instead of trying to sit back and work with our poor brothers and sisters that are white, Hispanic, Latino X, Native American. Instead of working this way, you have these people that are questioned in their own little groups that are told to fight amongst each other. These charlatans that want to sell you all of these different things and say this is your problem because of those people. I put this motherfucker in the same category as I would put somebody as Richard Spencer, Tim Pool, fucking Stephen, what is that? Is that the Molyneux, who sit back and sell you this dream that it's not a issue with the fucking working class versus the owner class, but it's because you're a certain race. These people are holding you down. Not the people that have the real power, but the people that are in the same financial situation as you are. This video is getting a little long, but I'm going to say this. It is a reason why, especially now, the opioid epidemic is hitting a lot of white folks. Because for so long we have been living off of borrowed credit. So long we have been living off of borrowed time as far as it comes down to economic growth. Everybody is hurting. Everybody is seeing this shit hurt everybody. That's why Trump was elected. Because people are hurting. And for you to sit back and not advocate, how dare you invoke Dr. King but not really listen to his message? This is why we need to stand together. Because we need to stand together as workers in solidarity to say enough is enough. In solidarity, we need to say, as workers, we need better. We need to demand better. Look, if you want to say that racism plays a big part in a lot of the struggles of the African American community, yes, I would agree with you. And sometimes it's not just the color of your skin, but it's the color of the paper that certain people try to keep. Shit, look at Standing Rock. Look at what happened with Puerto Rico. It's about the money, Lebowski. This is Crimson 60620. I want to thank everybody who's watched. And remember, we all need to stand together and demand better. Peace.